Hello, Guardians. All right, we got a special guest today, but before we get into that, we're going to cover belt to ass in Canada. Maybe we don't want to save the Caps. The Dallas Trinity take an L on their second home game, and much more right after this. All right, so today we got the OG Guardian here. Anyone who's been around a while, FCD drunk or FC drunk in all his
Close enough.
glory.
If you're technically following the letter of the law, misspelling something is accurate.
Yes, there you go. We got bro Andrew here. Drew, one of the 5 Drews that we have, or some version of Andrew that we have
There's
in the group.
87. That's why we
Yeah,
just went by drunk eventually. And
yeah,
way
pretty
easier.
much. Yeah, we were actually going to be called the Drews for a while, but then
That's absolutely not true.
copyright. All right, so before we jump in, like, share, subscribe to this video, thumbs up, all the YouTubey things that you can do. Follow us at Dallas Guardians on everything, including all the social medias. Is Reddit up there? Also on Reddit, but that's not there right now. So yeah, follow us. We really appreciate you. Keep you up to date on everything that's going on. We also have a newsletter you can sign up on DallasBearGuardians.com. So that is all the YouTubey things. All right. So we're gonna jump in. We're actually gonna get this pod in before the Premier League starts here shortly. So we will just start with the game in Vancouver. This was not great. Heavily rotated squad by Quill, maybe too heavily rotated. I think Musa. We had three of the original or the normal starters were on the bench: Valiente, Musa, and Moreno.
And in favor of Sarver, Farrington, and Benjamin.
Yes, and they also rotated Bernie out for the young man Torquato, which I don't quite understand because it's not like he was getting regular minutes.
That was his. I heard a stat last night that was his first start in like a calendar year. That he's made a handful of appearances with the U20 U.S. team and dropping the bucket back on like 4th of July with NTSC. That's about it. This kid has not seen first team MLS level minutes in
and it shows. And it showed. It feels like a thing you do because you're trying to sign him somewhere. You're trying to get rid of him, so you're like, let me show that he got off. Yeah, let me show that he got MLS minutes.
Let me show that this pony could come in 5th place in that race and see if anyone wants to buy it just in case.
That's a fact. That's all you need, really, is like, hey, he can compete.
He got them leg things, connect from his hips down to the floor.
That's about it. That's
your call.
But yeah, when I saw this lineup, I was like, we're gonna lose. I didn't know the extent of the loss. But yeah, like, what were your thoughts watching this last night?
So I'll say this, and I felt this way since, let's say, the Austin game. I know Austin was covered on the last pod and all that. So going that far back and knowing that there were 3 matches in a 7-day span like this, it just felt like it was such a back-to-back-to-back that there was going to have to be some turnover, some change in the lineup going from a rivalry game against Austin where it felt like we put out, for the most part, our best lineup. Then had to turn around and go to RSL where you rotate in Shaq Moore, you rotate in Nolan Norris, and change it up a little further. And then now come back out, and now you're throwing in Abubakar back into the starting lineup. You're throwing in Torquato into the starting lineup. Uragide sits in this one, and Ibiaga's got to be the central piece at that point. The depth for a short-term turnaround defensively is just not there. And if you were going to sacrifice a game in this context, while Vancouver is a top-of-the-table team, you want to be competing, you want to show that you can compete with that top of the table, maybe the road game up to Cascadia was the right opportunity to just take an L. We can get into some of the offensive changes a little bit later as to maybe I'm not thinking like Quill was thinking. But if you're going to do this heavy of a rotation, I think this is kind of the window to do it. You also end up giving some of your regular starters like the Uragides the chance to rest up an extra set of time since there's not another match for about a week here. So it gives that breather. I get it from a long-term plan, Um, this had stop, he's already dead vibes all over it the second it kicked off, and it came to fruition very, very quickly.
Yeah, it wasn't great. It just I guess it just showed that the starting 11 is solid, but everything after that is basically hit or miss.
It's I don't want to go full house of cards. There are solid pieces. Like I genuinely do believe that a proper starting lineup, like you talked about at the beginning, having Ramiro, having Valiente, having Musa out there, that's a good starting front three. When you bring in a Sarver, when you bring in a Farrington, now those are good pieces to me. Those are good. I've talked to you about this in the past and other people in the past about the idea of powder keg players, where you have someone who can come off the bench and really just light a fire. And score sheet guys, red, yellow, or goal assist, they'll do something, but they'll get on the score sheet the best they can. And
Yeah,
having those guys be able to come off the bench and drive that energy in the second half are valuable. These guys started this match. That wasn't it.
that's true. I think we just showed, like I said, there was especially the end of last year when we thought Musa was going to get sold. There was a hype train about, yeah, Farrington can do the job, and I'm like, no, he can't. It's not the same.
He can do it in
Um,
spurts. I just don't think he's at a trustworthy level yet with Quill, with the team, with the fan base to do it on a consistent basis. I think that he can come in and he has shown great spurts and shown great spark. I mean, think about it. If he, what was it? It was either just before or just after the Sarver incident that didn't get reversed, where Farrington hit one off the post last night. That goes in and it's a 3-1 game. We have a different story on our hands. Instead, nothing happens. The VAR incident and everything else that never came to be. And now all of a sudden, that freak goal at the end of the half, it's 4-0 going into the locker room. And it's just, all right, it is what it is.
so
Cascadia, part 75.
75, yeah. So what are your thoughts on the non PK calls? The one against Sarver for me was definitely a penalty.
100%. I was a smaller watch group that we were watching it with down in Dallas. And granted, we're all fans of the club, so we have a hair of bias there. I, of all people, tend to be the most realist when it comes to these calls and everything else. And I don't understand how that doesn't get overturned in that moment, especially if you're bringing the ref to the video to check that out at that point. There's got to be some sense from the room up above that they should be calling this. If we're trying to use the excuse, well, the game's out of reach anyway, what's it going to affect? Then it's going to be no. That a red card realistically turns that around. It sends Vancouver needing to reset and go back. Now, do I think they come back at that point? Probably not. I don't think Dallas had enough build to them that they would have all of a sudden magically found a switch with
Yeah.
one less player on the field. Might have taken about 3 red cards for that to happen at that rate. And
I mean,
it was just that
if
call alone. The second one later in the match, I can flip the coin and I could say 50-50. I think it just depends on the day. I think that whatever the call on the field was probably would have stood.
yeah,
The first one, I do not understand how that was not a red card, dog so in the box, any other version of the phrase you want to use there. It was an unacceptable call by the officiating all around.
yeah, for sure. And then the one on was that Kaik? Yeah, on Kaik where his
Mm.
knee to knee. I don't know how nothing was called on that. That's crazy to me because he swung and missed the ball completely. I don't know what that guy's looking at, to be completely honest. But
It's that falls into the bucket of, was the intent there to swing and cause harm, or did the defender genuinely just miss? And that's where I step back and I'm like, all right, I can understand the other point of view there. At that point in the game, I'm not as caring about that call because it really wouldn't matter. Down 3, and we've seen this team be able to come back from down 2. That would have been a PK opportunity, a chance to make it a 3-1 game. Now Dallas is back in it. That one was
yeah,
egregious. The earlier one was, the later one, I can give or take.
well, for me, it was more like if Musa ends up losing the Golden Boot by 1 goal, that penalty would have done it. But it's fine. Fine. Maybe I'm looking a
I
little too
mean,
far down the road.
Yeah. Look,
Like,
hey, we can do our we can get into this story another time, but we can do our traditional $100 bet that if he loses the golden boot by exactly one goal, we can revisit this moment right here.
for sure. I'd be like, yeah, we know where it happened. But it's fine. Yeah, to me, like I said, it was a belt to ass thing. We're at Petticolas, and you know, they had an opportunity within the first like 2-3 minutes, and I'm like, oh, this is not great. And Abubakar, for all the praise that we gave him the last two games, he scored a goal. He was playing really solid. He went back to form, and Nolan. I don't know what the maybe Nolan needs to change his boots. He slipped multiple times on this pitch. He was falling down. Even in the Leagues Cup game, he was reaching for balls because he couldn't quite keep up with the attacker. So I don't know if he peaked. I don't know if he's sick or something's going on, but his placement's not great.
I just think it fits into the idea that you have players out there that aren't seeing regular minutes on a consistent basis, and for them to all of a sudden, in a very short turnaround, be able to show that off. That's kind of unfair. Granted, look, you are trained, you are professionals, you are supposed to step in, next man up mentality, all that stuff. Let's also be realistic. If you haven't tried to run a mile in a month, and all of a sudden you got to go out there and run a mile today, I don't think you're going to run that mile as well as you would have when you were doing it on a more consistent basis. So there's not enough. I don't, again, like you said, the starting lineup is solid. It's a pretty good rock. It's gotten us to this fifth place, sixth place position that we're sitting in right now. The reality of it is that there's not enough strength behind that within the second wave to comfortably rotate the defensive players out on a regular basis, to give them the breathers, to keep everyone up to speed. And 3 games in 7 days expose that immensely.
Indeed, indeed. Yeah, so we stand after this. We're still in fifth, tied on 33 points with St. Louis and San Jose. I think it's just goal difference. Yeah, it's goal difference.
Yeah, goal difference
Uh,
is at 4 right now.
yeah, so that's basically the spread. But we're on points, same games. We actually have a game in hand on LAFC, and Vancouver has 2 games in hand, and now they're at the top of the table. And this is where I assume Houston Dynamo crashes down, because when I looked at it last week and they were number one, I was absolutely shocked.
I'll just go on the
Um,
example that I think Quill made the executive decision that was not acceptable and just was like, here, Caps.
is that what it is?
That's
Well,
also okay. All right, who says no?
I say no. We're not doing that. All right, we will be back. FC Dallas, that is. We'll be back on Sunday. Oh, another Sunday game. I was actually thinking about driving up here for this. Sunday, August 30th. So next Sunday, 6 o'clock game. So early in the afternoon. That's a weird time slot. Is that where's that's Sunday night football? So we're on the Big Apple. I don't know what that means. We're on the Big Apple screen next Sunday for Sunday night football. As we go up against St. Louis, which I said is actually tied on points. So that's actually an important game for us to, either stay pat with a tie or go ahead with a draw. Because I guess if we get 36, we'll be second. So yeah, that worked. We will move down the street here. Dallas Trinity also played last night, so some of us made some decisions on watch party or the Cotton Bowl. I know Hubert went and then came late because it was such a late game. They were able to catch the last 20 minutes or so. But here we go. The results for the USL Super League. Dallas won. Carolina sent 3. Carolina sent from the roster build that I saw and the game last week are a strong team. Now, granted, they were a strong team last year and then they faded at the end, but this is a season where fading at the end might not be a thing because it's only 14 games. So, you can maintain that. You can maintain a level of quality over that span, especially when you have a regular schedule on like Dallas Trinity because of the state fair. I think we play one more at home and then we are on the road for an extended period of time because the state fair is much more important at the Cotton Bowl than Dallas Trinity is. Maybe at some point that won't be
Yeah, I'm
true,
looking at
but
the
for
fixture
right
list
now,
right now. Next one is on the 29th at Jacksonville. home on the 5th of September against Brooklyn, on the 13th against Power, and then comes in the stretch for that fall season. They're not back then. They're not back home after those 2 September games until November 1st.
Now there is a state fair game there, but that's not on the schedule. And I don't
Correct. Yes.
actually.
But state fair game in the sense of not toward the standings.
Yeah, yeah. They still haven't announced, but I heard it's a Liga MX Feminal team that's going to come up here. So they tried the NWSL team, and that's not a draw. So you have to pick a team that'll put ass in seats.
No argument. I'll say as a fan of the game, it would be interesting to see, say, Houston Dash come up and make that the game,
Yes,
or see if you can get KC Current to come down and still have essentially a Red River version, even though they're crossing over a couple other state lines in the meantime.
fair enough. Fair enough.
But at least keeping it in the area would be a draw. Especially, it would have been a boon to advertise it as having an NWSL club with a potential USWNT player on the roster, be able to show up and use that as leverage going into next year's World Cup, trying to ride those waves. But
Yeah.
look, it the Liga MX Feminal, two leagues I don't personally follow, so I don't have enough knowledge of the players and everything in there. I'm sure they'll bring someone in. I thought last year's game was at least a fun time, and it was entertaining. I thought that Trinity, for what that roster construction, competed and did well. Now, this is a
Hmm.
whole new roster construction, everything else, so we'll see as they continue to, kind of grow into their own skin a little bit here. But if they can, get up to form, make it a competitive game for what's essentially a preseason game for the other side,
Hmm.
it could be fun. A good way to, have a little funnel cake, a little corn dog, and possibly 3 points in the pocket.
Yeah. Um. Yeah. I didn't go to the game. I'm going to watch the highlights here in a little bit, but we'll see when Lee Win. I think Buzz talked about this last week about how he might have an NWSL bias. So like there are ladies on this team who aren't of that pedigree that I thought watching the preseason games should have started, but he basically started all the loanees that they brought in, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure that mindset is really the mindset to go with in
There
this
were
configuration.
times in the past regime as well, especially in year one, that I felt like there were loanees that were brought into the club and were given kind of preferential play. Like, I'll even go back to trying to remember who the main keeper was for year one, but I remember Sam Estrada during some of the preseason games where she showed out and she looked phenomenal. And all of a sudden, we were starting someone else at keeper there who was a loanee who had come in. It. I don't know enough on that front. I know that as you get into bigger leagues, like, yeah, we're loaning you over here and you're going to come in and essentially be, an extra body. Sometimes you can come in and be an extra piece. I'm curious as to what the actual arrangements are on some of these, that they're bringing in players who end up just being this, they're fringe players, and it's hard to strike that balance, right? You have to even coaching a youth sport, right? You have to strike the balance of, I know these kids are good and I want to put out the good kids because these kids over here are kind of shit. And you have to turn around and be like, cool, I got to try and win the game because winning will give everyone that good feeling. Everyone will be happy with the result. Parents will be happy, everyone else. But you can't not play the kid that picks their nose at some point. They have to be able to see the field and be able to learn something and grow from it. So you got to rotate them in a proper way. I would hope that there's better rotation. This is also a sprint season, and it's a whole different ball game because it's a shorter season too. So if it's just a look, we just need to throw out what we got and try and get something to stick to the wall and have success. I can tell you, the two girls up front, the two ladies up front, Hamid and Castaigne, have been phenomenal from what I've
Hmm.
seen so far.
Yeah.
Beyond that, there's some still solid pieces back there. Shepard's still back there. Braun's still back there. But they're I just think they're going to be raw. I think that this sprint season, instead of trying to, force the issue and insist that we make the playoffs again with a mid-tier roster, you kind of get stuck in the middle there. I'm not saying there's magic draft that's going to all of a sudden bring up extra players, but at some point you're going to need to give the kids that you're trying to develop the opportunity to show you that they've done something.
Yeah.
And without that opportunity, you're just stuck in this middle ground of not being able to develop anyone and not being able to get any benefit out of the players that have kind of, I don't want to say peaked, but are near peak, and this is the best they're able to do against what we'll agree is a tier down from NWSL competition.
Tier sideways, tier diagonal. But we'll see.
They're
Until
on
they
the
start,
edge of the pyramid.
yeah, until they start playing each other on a regular enough basis, I don't particularly, like that estimation, but we'll see. Because it would be different if all the NWSL loanees came to the Super League and balled out, but that hasn't been true in the 2 seasons before this. Lots of NWSL players come here and absolutely struggle. And this league has done an abnormally good job at selling their talent overseas in the short period of time it's been around, especially Dallas Trinity. I think we've sold 3 players to bigger European teams.
I mean, even
So
look for the one that I was gonna say cracks me up. It shocked me the most was
yeah,
that Miss Mo got a deal to go somewhere. I felt
yeah,
like for how injured and out she had been, that she was probably gonna have to give another year of service in order to actually show something. But clearly, in those 30 seconds that she was on the field, she showed enough and was
yeah,
able to land herself a deal overseas. So yeah, the development's there. It's getting there. It's a good showcase for the talent that's out there and available. It's a good opportunity for more women to have a chance to play at the professional level, at what's classified as a D1 level. It's just a matter of finding that balance between, yeah, I brought you in as a loanee to be a part of this, and we have players here we still need to develop,
yeah.
making that all mesh together in the right space and time. I mean, you're like you just said too, some of the NWSL loanees coming over and struggling. These are players that haven't had the weight on their shoulders at that top level of
For a
competition
while.
yet.
Yeah,
You get, yeah, clearly they've had that level on their shoulders in college, but we all know how college
college.
athletics is. You can end up with, 3 competitive teams that you play and a litany of, fodder, right?
Yeah, pretty much,
So
pretty much.
this is when they jump in, now all of a sudden it's being put on their shoulders. They're the ones responsible for the action. They're the ones responsible
Yeah,
for dictating play, for managing the, coach's instruction on the field, etc. And having to take that on in that leadership role in that moment at this high level of the game is that above and beyond what they've needed to do in their past, expected to do in their past. Now they're taking on these extra roles. Is that adding to that struggle of coming over as a loanee? Or is it
yeah.
something where, again, this roster itself has had, I think it was the most overhaul of any NWS or any Super League
US.
team.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. I think we only brought back like 6, 7 people. So
if
yeah,
that.
yeah. So and I think
I'm
isn't
doing
one
this
of
just
them.
for you.
Yeah,
It's
I
your
know.
fault.
Pretty much. I did that on purpose. But yeah.
No, you
Speaking
didn't.
of USL Super League coverage, if you are here, follow our very own Dennis McCowan as he works for our very own Buzz for thirddegree.net. He does a write-up after every game. So if you're interested in this, and you should be because it's quality soccer, quality local soccer, which we support here. So follow them at thirddegree.net, their YouTube channel, their socials. It's the same everywhere. He's been supporting soccer here for a very long time. So let's support Buzz um, up north in the Pacific Northwest. Luckily, he moved to a city that also has a soccer team still, so he
I
can
mean,
still enjoy the
luckily,
game.
I kind of figured I saw his video last night too, and I was like, oh God, I hope he didn't drive. I hope he didn't actually go to the game because it was local enough. So
Yeah,
luckily, it looked like he was still at his place. He was fine. He
yeah,
he he reported safe on Facebook from the devastation in Vancouver.
yes, yeah. It did. I mean, it's a quick drive up there, but yeah, he does have. Well, he had 2 because he's in Spokane now, so he had 2 teams local. One of them shut down, obviously. So now he just has the USL 1 team, which back to back finals for them, Spokane, but they can't seem to get over the. They're pulling their best Buffalo in the NFL, where they went to 4 times in a row and still couldn't get a championship out of that. But that's unfortunate. But yeah, so Buzz does great work, and Dennis is doing the local for them. I'm thinking maybe I'll do the Atletico Dallas write up for them next year, but we'll see. Okay, so we're gonna go down slightly further down the league here. So this is the USL Championship results from last night. I think I only caught the Phoenix game because that's what it was on by the time I got home. They're wrapping up. Sporting Jacks got their second win of the season. They're a terrible expansion team. I think, yeah, it's crazy. Like they're really ambitious and they have relatively
Two,
deep
5, and 14
pockets.
minus 28 goal differential. Woof.
Yeah, that's yeah. And somehow the women's team, same Sporting Jacks women's team, averaged like 2,000 more than the men's team. It's the craziest thing. Um, so there's that. But I know the one that you care about. Your Cosmos team is
That's
struggling.
it. No. Hold on. We have a 3-game unbeaten streak. We're doing okay. It's not the worst. Now, is it bad? Yes. I'm not going to argue that one. But it was not evil. I'll put it that
Yeah,
way. We got a 3-3 draw last night against Red Wolves in Chattanooga. I know Guanzati got one late in the first half that kept the game afloat after it kind of looked like they let up a goal in the first minute because, Cardiac Cosmos, that's how things got to go.
pretty much.
The one I will say, and again, this is me being biased because I watch the club and follow Cosmos like that. Ajmir Spengler. Remember
Solid pick.
that name? He is going to end up going places. There's no way the Cosmos are going to be able to hold on to this kid. He has been solid. He was the one who was able to knock in the game time goal in the 77th minute last night. He had another couple phenomenal ones because I believe before this was a win. I'm missing who we played midweek. Oh, it was Corpus. We got a 2
Yeah,
nothing win against Corpus and then pulled out a 1-0 win against AV Alta just before that. So for all of the sadness in Patterson,
yeah.
it could be worse.
It could be worse. I mean, I think once uh Cosimo died, right? My hope for this team kind of died. Even though he wasn't going to be active, right? But he still owned part of the team and he would be the richest owner at this level by like miles.
It,
So,
it's not even. I'll say this. I think that the strategy of aligning with I don't know if Patterson counts as a city or not, and this is both me making fun of Jersey and being not aware. Uh,
it's a
I,
township, I think. Yeah.
close enough. Yeah,
Yeah.
township sounds accurate.
Yeah.
It's a very East Coast thing. So
No, trust me on
with
that. Yeah.
really, um, I think that Patterson was. I see what they tried to do. I see that, hey, it's a stadium that just got renovated. They want to draw things in. I know Stover himself, who's been closely tied to the Cosmos project since the rebirth in 2013.
Mm-hmm.
He is Jersey based as well. He was trying to do this, Jersey Pro Soccer, USL 1 startup thing for a minute. I see what the vision was. The New York metro area requires mass transit. Patterson ain't it.
Okay. Also, it is the city of Patterson, and it's the third largest population center in New Jersey. So put some respect on their name, sir.
That's the shiniest cardboard box in the trash heap. It's it's still Jersey.
Yeah.
Uh, so between that and now, it almost feels like even if they wanted to get out of the Patterson of it all and find either mass transit's got to find a way to get people to the game. The
Yeah.
attendance has been brutal. Again, I went to the opener. It was a blast. It was a great environment. Hearts of Pine came down, so it made it a good battle between both supporters groups making noise the entire game, and it was insanely fun. I love the people. I love that fan base. That location does not having mass transit. If I'm coming from my family home out on Long Island to go to that game, it takes me almost 2 hours in traffic to get from out there all the way over to Patterson. And if I did mass transit, it's closer to 2.5 with multiple changeovers, everything else. Now all of a sudden you have the USL Next Pro side that is building their stadium at Mitchell Athletic Complex, which
Well,
is where
hold
the
on,
Cosmos played for the minute.
hold on. Before we get to that, let me
All right, all right.
hold on,
I know
relax.
you got me on that rant now.
Okay. Oh wait, let me take that off the screen. For those that don't understand what he's saying, so this is Hitchcliff, right? Because technically, when they
Oh,
announced
you're
it, they're
pulling up
like,
the directions. Great.
yes. When they did this, so this is the walk from. Let me see if I can let it pop up again. This is the walk from the closest train station that people are complaining about.
It's
This
not
is
even the
crazy.
walk from the train station. It's that because of timing, New Jersey Transit is not made to go to things. New Jersey Transit is to get people to and from the city.
I understand. No,
So
I get that. Yeah, I get you.
even
But
beyond that, that's the
yeah,
closest train station. The closest bus station is slightly closer. You still have to take like 3 buses just to get on
to get
that
over there.
bus.
Yeah. Well, no, I think they run shuttles on game day, so you just have to stop at this station.
True, if you get to the station, there's shuttles.
Yeah.
It's still for people who, especially when the team was playing in Nassau,
Yes.
it's so much easier for someone to just get on a Long Island rail from um, from Penn Station, take it to Mineola. The team was running shuttles from Mineola right to the stadium. Piece of cake. One stop and you're in. And that train ride was a half hour. The bulk of the fan base was a mix between the city and the island, and now that's who has the biggest struggle to get back out the other way.
Yeah, it's one of them things. So their marketing wasn't very clear. So because they own the trademark, it's still, some of it still says New York, but on their website they just say Cosmos. They just drop the moniker because they also own that trademark. So they're in a thing of two minds. It's like, hey, just advertise yourself as the Cosmos and just run with that
Yeah.
as much as
Well, that was
possible.
the whole point. The new iteration of the crest and everything else just says Cosmos on it instead of New York Cosmos. So that
Yeah.
way they could just have it around for logo purposes. Everything else on paper, they're still technically New York Cosmos because that name in its own way carries its correct weight.
Yeah.
That said, it's not. It's kind of crumbling under its own weight at this point. And like I was going to jump to the two places that they played at on Long Island prior to all of the kit, prior to moving out to what was it, MCU down in
Yeah.
Brooklyn.
Mm-hmm.
Before moving to Brooklyn, the two places they played at on Long Island, one is getting renovated to work for, I think it's the Island FC
Uh-huh.
in
Okay.
Next Pro. And now a USL one side was just announced to be playing at Hofstra University right next door.
So yes, so he jumped the shark a
It's
little bit
nuts.
there, but so we have the new iteration of the soccer wars here. If you've been watching soccer in this country in the last, let's say, 30 years, it's always the biggest one being NASL 2.0 going up against the Federation for antitrust and losing on some of the dumbest technicalities possible. But so now we have a new iteration where MLS decides that they're going to use MLS Next Pro as a way to go into markets that would normally be USL markets. USL apparently is turning the tables on that, and this is earlier this year they announced that Ventura County, which is currently, or is it Oak Sports Holding, which is managing Ventura County FC, which is the MLS Next Pro of Los Angeles Galaxy, announced that they're going to have a team in USL One, which means that the Galaxy have to go and find another spot for their MLS Next Pro team. So that should be fun. So that's a win column for USL One because Ventura County is actually one of the teams that draws. Like they actually, because it's run by a third party, they actually market and try to get people in the stands. They also own a very large youth academy down there in Ventura County, which is just far enough out of LA that it's not in anyone's way. So that works. And then round two of that is going to be USL Long Island, which, as he says, is going to be played at James Short. Is that how you pronounce
We've
it?
always just said it's short.
Short Stadium, which is at
Yeah.
the university there. Now, hopefully, that lease that's another thing with the Cosmos is that apparently there's not really a lease issue, but the school district is arguing with the city, who's now arguing, or the team is getting caught in the middle, which I don't quite understand because their lease just says it's $250,000 a year and they get first dibs on the stadium. I don't know what the argument is because from what I understand, the school district doesn't actually host very many events there. So what is the argument about? But
No,
whatever.
it's a university stadium.
No,
So
no, no. The Cosmos?
other way around. I see what
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
saying. I thought you were
Cosmos. Yeah.
talking about the Long Island one.
No, the Long Island one. So this is what I'm worried about: is that college stadiums, are they going to be able to serve alcohol? Are they going to have first dibs? Now, it only lacrosse is held here. There's no
Correct.
football team at this, so that
Their
would be helpful.
Hofstra University lost their team early 2000s.
Yes.
I think their most famous one was like Wayne Corbett. And since then, what I was jokingly going to be like, it's going to be a great new experience for soccer fans because instead of seeing football lines on a field, you'll have lacrosse lines on a field, and someone's going to have to ask, "What's that?"
Well, no. Funny enough, because it's not turf,
It's
they
not.
can mark it. They can mark it off. Which because when they did the announcement, there are no lines on the field. So that's
Correct.
That's the upside. That's the difference between them and Westchester, which has every conceivable
Literally
line on the field. But so this will be what will be arguably the closest rival, quote unquote, in the country. It is 1.5 miles.
Yeah.
From end to end.
I can literally throw, and it's funny enough because I worked for Hofstra University for an internship for a while. So this even used to be like the Hofstra campus used to be Jets training camp. These places are literally a stone's throw from each other.
Yep.
And it's insane to think. Granted, I'd love to, preach on my home area and say that Long Island can handle multiple teams and all this other stuff. People also forget that there's also the Rough Riders, who are a known entity out there.
Yes.
There's
now the Rough Riders. The Rough Riders owner is the one doing the island, so it's the same thing.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
There's for an area that already struggles to get people into sports outside of the large ones because there's already so many options.
Well,
I see what we're trying to do here. I'm more surprised that someone hasn't tried to put something further out east.
Yes,
like
that's what
in
people
that
are saying. Yeah.
Exactly. Like put something out in Suffolk County.
Yep.
I think that would actually get a draw. I think that Suffolk would get behind something that is purely Suffolk.
But here's a question though: is there a venue out there? Where would you play?
Technically, yes. I do not.
Baseball?
That's what I was going to get at. It's independent league baseball. The Long Island Ducks have a stadium there. You can convert it in the same way that they used to convert MCU for the Cosmos and the way that Brooklyn FC currently uses it. But it's still, I'm not saying that's ideal by any means. I'm actually now thinking about it. Is that still the Rio OKC field that's sitting on top of MCU right now?
I think so.
That's
So when they announced this, everyone was saying go to Suffolk County because the only thing on Long Island is the hockey team, the Islanders, out there right now.
And not even. They moved to Belmont, which is basically the border of Nassau and Queens. Like where you're showing on the map right now, if you zoom out a hair, or I actually think that might be it across the street, is old Nassau Coliseum, which still exists. And they use that for the Long Island Nets, the G League for the Brooklyn Nets. But beyond that, that is the furthest east large venue. Everything else out that way. Now you start getting into like, do you put something at like Stony Brook University or I don't even think so. I think at that point you're getting into high school fields if you're starting to move out there. You either have to have space to build something, or you need to convert that stadium in Islip over, which honestly would be probably the best of all worlds because there's a small airport in Islip at least. So in the same vein of needing small flights to be able to get in, we could just put all of these USL teams on Frontier flights with back problems, land them, and now all of a sudden that team's winning all these games at home because no one can function after getting off a flight and landing at MacArthur.
Yeah. I mean, the upside of the NYC Metro is that you have lots of flights in and out. That's another reason I think Spokane,
Spokane works because you have the airport.
Yeah, but no, that's why Spokane's women didn't work, is because from Spokane to go to a lot of these other cities, they're not direct flights. So so there's an issue. Even Corpus kind of works because Corpus has an international airport that you can get to, but it's one of the things that the union was fighting for in the last or in the what they just argued about is more direct flights instead of connecting, which depending on the market might not be a thing that you can do. Um, but yeah, so yeah, this is a soccer wars. I look forward to it. It's. I also think this is from what I was looking into. I think this is an extension of the youth soccer wars because, like we said earlier, the Islanders, which is the MLS Next Pro team, would say they're going to start next year, but they haven't started the stadium they were going to build. So I don't know how that's going to work. Unless they're going to build through winter, which
They're
I
going to
don't
play in
think
the parking lot.
pretty much. That guy owns Long Island Rough Riders, which has a massive youth team. The guy, along with the U.S. What's her name? Doctor. She try to find the name, but anyways, the person who's doing the USL Long Island owns another youth team in the area. So I'm like, oh, so we're just extending the rivalry upwards. Like you want a
Exactly. Like that.
professional team,
That
I
to
want a
me is
professional team.
honestly what this is
Yeah,
all about in the end.
yeah,
Is that I hate how this is in youth sports, especially as a parent with kids who play youth sports.
mm-hmm.
The entire look, that can be an entire another 3-hour podcast arguing about how the youth sports structure in this country is broken, blah blah blah. But what this clearly is based on the ownership that's getting involved and coming in is I want my academy to be the primary academy. So if I build the feeder for where my academy kids can actually go for, semi-pro, pro ball, now all of a sudden I actually have a feeder system to lead them up, and I can point and say, give me your money to my academy now, because I have a clear and direct pathway that if your kid's good, I can get you from my Rough Riders Academy to the Rough Riders team to Island FC to whoever they decide to associate with when that proceeds forward from a next pro perspective, get eyes on the players, etc. And now all of a sudden, this model opens up, and this is going to be the
Yeah.
big version. I mean, this is the. I'm trying to think of like the local examples where you have like Solar and you have the Toka and uh, Texas Spurs is another one locally in the area. It's like if those academies here in Texas all of a sudden started buying clubs in these lower tiers of the pyramid or buying, access into these lower tiers of the pyramid just to have a feeder for their players to go into
Well, I mean
in
that.
order to draw attention to the academy to go there, money, money,
Yeah,
money, etc.
that's why Charlotte Independence, even though they draw like 1,000 people, it doesn't really matter. They have 10,000 kids in their youth system, so it's like I don't.
Bingo.
This is not. It's not doing. It doesn't matter what the first team does. I'm making 10 or making 5-6 million off the youth team. But yeah, this is the campus that is owned by the guy who's launching, who's the principal owner. So he's the money behind it. This is his youth team that he got the city to build because if you realize it, this is in the middle of the courthouse. All the city facilities are literally on this block. He got the city to give him this land to build this facility. There's enough land that he could build a stadium here if they got tired of being in Hofstra. I don't know where this is in relation to anything in New Jersey, but yeah, this is where his facility is. So, yeah, it's just youth soccer doing youth soccer things. But yes, those are the soccer wars. Um,
All right, apologies for the technical difficulty there as Marlon gets himself back online. Like you said, it's again, it's unfortunate that youth soccer is not in a place that is as accessible. I mean, especially during the summer where you hear the stories of Messi and other players being found at these small academies and then being brought in order to actually get seen and actually be brought up within the environments. It's just not a reality that works for the average American here. And you have to have the finances in order to get seen and in order to take those next steps and move up. And it's good to see the growth of the sport in general from that kind of top down view where we try and say, okay, cool. We want there to be more teams because more teams means more access. It means more pathways and everything else. But in the end, it's, at what point are you overextending yourself? Right. Like I'll even use a business example. I've heard from the CEO at the company I work for an example of a past one that he was with where fellow CEO started overhiring that staff, but then that spreads out that talent, that pool, that access to the clientele base thinner and thinner and thinner. When that client book gets thin, it's harder to maintain that business, to keep that up. It ends up resulting in teams getting let go. A situation like with what happened with the Spokane women's team, where we're looking to build it up and have a new avenue here. People have invested their time, their money, their energy into this, and all of a sudden now, for financial reasons, it has to fold back because it's been overextended out and they're unable to keep that operation going. If all of these clubs popping up, it feels like a good thing. It feels like expansion. It feels like growth of the sport in the country and trying to fill the need and the desire for more of it as this keeps going. The thing that I fear the most in all of this is that we're just going to end up with another handful of folded clubs because instead of actually trying to produce a better product on the field, they're just going to end up fighting with each other and burning each other to the ground in the end.
Uh, yeah, we'll see about that. Sorry, Spectrum can go fuck itself. But anyways, I agree with you. Now, I will say the Long Island I think works because Westchester and the Cosmos need something, right? They need a thing. They need
I will agree with you that I like
yeah,
having a Long Island-based USL team so that way I can go see my team instead of having to drive to Jersey for 2 road games a year.
exactly.
But beyond that, it's again, are they going to? I'm saying it more from the perspective of is the next pro team and the USL team going to end up cannibalizing each other
No,
and
I
focusing too hard on each other's turf and
I
territory and whatnot, and trying to outshine the other that they end up overextending and spending? And is this glutton of teams that we're trying to infuse at these higher tiers of the pyramid? Though, look, USL 1 is 3 tiers down, next pro somewhere in that range.
yeah.
Are we
It no,
spreading the talent too thin? Like
no, 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 no. There's I think we what's a guy that just got sold for 130 million who apparently played here randomly. Uh there is more than enough talent. There's more than enough local domestic talent, and then you have to add in the fact that a lot of foreign players come here to go to college. There's more than enough talent. Now in the women's game, I will agree with you. So that's the only reason I'm NWSL is expanding, and then USL Super League now well, the USL Super League has to expand. They need at least 4 teams in the next 18 months. I think they have 3 of them already lined up: Boise, Cosmos. Although we'll see how Cosmos' pockets work, and somebody out west because they need somebody out west. So they have at least 3. They need 4 because they need 12 in 6 years. This is the 3rd year. I guess it depends on what the federation considers the sprint season. Do you consider the sprint season a season, or are we just going to not call it a season and move forward? Anyway,
Yeah, you
but they
almost
need
have to put a stick in the sand and say this date and approximately this many seasons out. Given the sprint season and calling that a full season is a little rough.
yeah, because they need 10 teams by year 4, and then they need 12 by year 6. So it's like they've got time, right? So Super League will be fine. Now they need teams out west badly. USL, as a general rule, needs Western teams because if you look at their slate of teams added next year, it's us, 1 team out west in USL 1, and then 2 Florida teams. It's like Florida could have its own division at a certain point. I think they're going to have
That's
8
facts.
teams there. It's absolutely ridiculous. But so it's not a talent issue,
Well,
especially
they've been
USL
talking about seceding for all this time, so they'll just have
for
their own
Florida.
league.
Exactly. They'll be like Puerto Rico. They'll be a part of the country, but have their own soccer league. But yeah, no, I think it's the thing people argue about, especially at USL League One level, is the biggest cost is transportation, right? That again, Spokane men's team, their only Western, well, I guess now they have Boise, but their only Western appointment last year was AV Alta, which is in the southern part of now. Now they have Boise, and next year they'll have Sporting Cascade, which is in Eugene. So that'll help. They still need more, and California can get these teams, right? The problem is USL as a business model seems to be focused on the East Coast because it's easier to get teams. There are more people who have more money. There are more facilities that you can use because California doesn't like building sports franchises, and that's
What
all.
do you
That's the
mean you
whole
don't
thing.
want to open up a team in South Dakota?
And to be honest, it would be look at what Boise,
That's
right? That's what
you
I'm
know
saying.
it. It's kind of a weird leap, but think of like the XFL, USFL, whatever they're calling themselves
Yes.
nowadays.
Yeah.
It's trying to find places to go play where there isn't something right now,
Yeah.
which is why, in that context, Boise makes sense. Having a team in, underserved part of California makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Having, as much as I'm not a fan of the location personally, having a team out in that area of New Jersey for Cosmos on both sides of the coin makes sense.
Also, I forgot to mention the uh, NYC FC2 is moving to Jersey. So
Yeah,
they,
exactly. Just one
yeah.
more
So.
effing problem.
Now, and to be honest, to go back to the original question you were asking me, whether or not the Islanders and whatever USL League One Long Island's calls themselves, are they going to compete? It is an independent team, and of all the teams in MLS Next Pro that draw, they're all independent. So there's Chattanooga, which existed before MLS Next Pro, so they have their own fan base. Carolina Core, which hit or miss, they do draw. So the only MLS Next Pro team that's connected to a MLS team is either Ventura County or Huntsville, which is hilarious to me because Huntsville is Nashville's reserve team, but they don't play in Tennessee. Whatever, it's right across the border. It's whatever, but it's whether or not that team or that management group decides that they want to be a commercial entity or they just want to be minor league baseball, where the parent company pays all the salaries. So all you need to do is manage the facilities.
Correct.
If that's all you want to do, then you're not. We're not competing. If
What
I'm a business
category do you
entity,
put North Texas in then?
oh, North Texas is a commercial entity, right? They have different staff. They moved 30 miles, actually more than 30 miles. Mansfield might be 40, 50 miles away. Um, yeah, no, they're a different entity altogether. Like even right now, look at the squad that they built. There's not a lot of academy kids on North Texas. They went out and signed guys that they think are going to be professional to win. Now it's not working because they suck right now, but whatever. That's neither here nor there. And having been to that stadium, really, really, really nice stadium. 7,000 seats. They have suites on the not lower level, like the mid-tier level. And the ISD funded most of it anyway, so the school district is going to use it for their football game. So now Mansfield has a really nice football stadium, so I don't know if they need a secondarily nice football stadium, but whatever, it's there. We'll use it, and
In case they want to play more than once.
yes, or they send the JV teams out there, like, hey, no one's coming to these games anyway. Go have fun at this much smaller stadium, because I think the main stadium holds 17, 18,000. Right, it's a big stadium, so yeah, it's a secondary stadium for them. But yeah, that being said, so it's whether or not you want to be a commercial entity or you want to be a reserve team. That's the argument. Now, with the PE coming in, was the KKR taking over? Was it hometown soccer holdings or whatever the hell that entity is called?
Mm-hmm.
That wants to be. They even said that they're modeling it after Diamond Soccer Holdings, which is what minor league baseball.
I just came across this thing too because it's the idea that same thing. It's essentially one major parent company that technically has the ownership of all of these minor league franchises underneath.
Yeah.
Same mentality trying to bring it to the soccer world.
Yeah. They already got, is it, like I said, North Texas, or not North Texas. North Texas did it themselves. The Hunts were going to do that anyway. Their whole thing. That's why they played in Globe Life in front of 4,000 or 5,000 people, even though that building is massive. So we'll see. We'll see about that. But my whole thing is USL League One is trying to be regional, right? They're trying to do divisions. So there'll be a Northwest division, the Florida division. They're trying to keep it to where you never have to get on the plane but once or twice a year. And in order to do that, you need another 30 teams spread across the country.
We're going full-blown Carolina Leagues buses across the country for soccer. Women get woolly, whole 9 yards.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Jerosi, I know you got the Premier League you want to jump. I really appreciate you. Sorry for my internet. Luckily, because I work from home, I have 2 internet providers, Spectrum and AT&T Fiber, so I was able to switch over, but what the fuck ever. Thanks for your time. As we say here, support local soccer, support local breweries. In that case, DFW is going to be, speaking of saturation, last thing before we leave, DFW is going to have Rodeo, North Texas FC, Atletico Dallas, Trinity, FC Dallas, and whenever USL Fort Worth, who is a thing that still exists, still pops up. I think they're waiting for 2028.
That's not even what, because you still have Diablos, you still have Vaqueros out there.
I'm talking about professional, not
yeah. Okay,
if we're
fair,
talking,
fair, yeah.
Yeah, if we include semi-professional, USL2, NPSL, League for Clubs, we're up to like 20 or 30 of these bad boys. It
Chupacabra, Temecula.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I'm looking forward
Gonna
to
have an
USL
Italy
Fort Worth.
Paisanos FC.
Oh my goodness, you gotta love it. But yeah, I'm looking forward to USL Fort Worth whenever Farrington Field figures itself out. Um, I think they were about to announce, and then the state took over Fort Worth ISD, which meant that they couldn't sell off the stadium. It was a
That
whole
sounds
thing.
right.
So, yeah, but yeah, no, I think that rivalry would be, obviously, we're gonna call that the Trinity rivalry, even though copyright infringement, whatever. That would be fun. But yeah, and then Oklahoma also coming up the street, and then we can actually have a proper state fair game with Oklahoma and Dallas at the Cotton Bowl. So it'll be a fun time all the way around. But like we said, support local soccer, support local breweries. Guardians out.